What's going on YouTube? Card Collector 2 coming at you here with a brand new video, and we are live today from TD Garden in Boston, where we are filming another episode of Collections, Card Shops, and Collectors, highlighting the best the hobby has to offer. We're going to go in here today, home of Big Night Breaks, Big Night Live in Boston at the TD Garden, and we're going to interview Chris Costa, the creator of the Causeway Card Show and owner of Big Night Breaks. His story is one that is fascinating, and I'm sure you guys will enjoy this. So let's go meet Chris and see what he has to say. All right, what's going on, guys? We are here with Chris Costa, Big Night Breaks, and the creator of the Causeway Card Show. Chris, thanks for having us.
Good to see you, buddy.
Appreciate you having us out here.
Thanks for coming to town.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talked about it a little bit in the intro, but Chris is somebody that I just recently got connected with earlier this year. We met actually at the Dallas Card Show. Something you guys have heard a lot in the previous episodes is the relationship aspect of the business and what you can do at card shows. This is a perfect example. Chris and I got connected at one, and we've been in touch since. So really can't thank him enough for having us out here to do this. So Chris, tell the people, where are we?
Yeah, so right now we're downtown Boston, right in the heart of downtown Boston. We're at TD Garden, right? TD Boston Garden, an iconic venue where the Celtics and the Bruins play. And ironically, we have our concert venue here, Big Night Live, which is one of the top concert halls in the entire country. We've got world-class acts playing in here every weekend, and we have the luxury of using this to our advantage for the Causeway Card Show. So that's where we're at right now, of course, as Ryan knows. But we try to put on something special, something different. We're here at Big Night Live. We've got 100 vendors, and we're trying to do it a little bit different.
So I think that's something we'll talk about here in a little bit, about how Chris got into the card show space. But taking a step back, right? You started a card show.
Sure.
We're here now at this. You mentioned breaking. That's something you do. How'd you get into the hobby in general, though? Where did you start?
Yeah, good question. I've been in the hobby since I was a kid, maybe 12, 13 years old. I can remember ripping packs in my mother's back seat. It was guys like Nomar Garcia-Parra and Manny Ramirez, and those were the guys that really sucked me into the hobby. But I've been collecting cards even before that. I remember my father bringing home my first Cam Neely rookie card as a kid, and I was just obsessed with Cam Neely as a Bruin. So I've been in it and collecting and opening packs since I was a really young kid, all the way through high school, and then college comes around and things slow down, and then things picked back up pretty ravenously about 4 years ago. So it's been a crazy, almost 5 years now of really diving headfirst back into the hobby and seeing the crazy market swings that we've seen over the last 5 years. I mean, it's been insane, but obviously this has transitioned now into my life and what I do for a living now. So.
Yep. Wouldn't do the same thing, wouldn't change it for the world. So
yeah, man.
You mentioned a couple years ago, 4 years ago or so. Is that when Big Night Breaks started?
No, good question. So Big Night Breaks and our business really took shape during the pandemic, early on in the pandemic. So, being a collector, being a hobbyist, I was just enjoying the buying, selling, and trading as a hobbyist, right? And obviously, as many did very well in the most recent upswing. And I have really close friends who own Big Night, which is one of the largest nightlife and entertainment companies in the country. And we are owners of 19 venues across the Northeast, including Big Night Live, which we're in right now. And we were talking, things were shut down because of the pandemic, and we decided, you know what, let's do something different, right? So we built Big Night Breaks, and it took off, it went crazy, and it was a super successful, or just from our perspective, super successful, because it was a way for us to do something in a time when everything was shut down. Yep. And we had a lot of fun with it. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, and here we are, almost a year later, or more than a year later now. now starting a much broader business than just Big Night Breaks. So it's pretty crazy to watch.
Yeah, I think that's something that when I talked to a lot of the other card shop owners that we've talked to, is, you know, kind of this new age of cards. Really, you've got to be willing to adapt, right? When one thing doesn't work or something slows down, you got to have something else, right? And so when this slowed down for you guys, it's like, hey, time to think creative and what else can we do? And boom, it worked out. And
got to pivot.
Yep, exactly. That's the best way to describe it.
It's all in the pivot.
So, but you mentioned Big Night Breaks just recently started. I've seen a couple of your breaks. You're huge on Instagram for that. But one of the things I think is fascinating about your breaks is really some of the people you've had included in them, right? The one I've seen the most is obviously Chase Winovich, current Patriot, former Michigan Wolverine.
He's a Michigan guy.
Everybody knows that's not me. But Chase is a guy I've seen on there a lot, but also Steve Aoki, who I know is also another card guy, but also Dana White. How did that start? How did you get connected with some of those guys, and the ability to include them in your breaks? That's something you don't see very often, if at all.
We're very fortunate, and we don't take it lightly. We're very fortunate to have the relationships that we have, to know the people that we know. But by nature of being in the nightlife and entertainment industry, you just develop relationships with people that happen to be known, right? And that happens to be some of the biggest DJs in the country, right? Guys like Steve Aoki, they play these venues every weekend. Last night, Alesso was here, right? Aoki was playing Grand in the Seaport 2 weeks ago. And just the way Big Night operates, the way Big Night is, the presence Big Night as a company has and that we have across the country, we've been able to develop these relationships with folks like Dana White and Chase Winovich and Gunnar Olszewski and Grant Williams and Taco Fall and Aoki and Borges, and so the list goes on and on. It's growing, and we're excited about it. We think that there's a real need for the nightlife and entertainment world and the mainstream world of celebrities and pop culture to meet sports cards. And I think that line has started to become a little bit more blurry, which is nice, but I think that there's still a huge gap. And sports cards are becoming mainstream, and we keep talking about how sports cards are becoming mainstream, and sports cards are mainstream now, everybody's talking about them. Well, the only way that we really get them over that line is to bring it to the mainstream and put it in front of the people that have the presence and have the brand and have the market reach. And we're just very fortunate to have some of those relationships, and we try to leverage that and put together a really entertaining product and put together, what we think are some of the best breaks in the country. So I think that's the whole thought process behind that. And again, it is more being lucky and to be in the position that we're in. And have that level of access. Yeah,
and I think I saw the one with Dana White. I saw you guys pulled like a gold during that. It was very well done. Dana was very interesting on this. So, yeah, you guys take the opportunity, but it's also what you do with it, right?
Yeah,
and you guys do a great job with it. Very, very, very well done.
Dana was super interesting and obviously went well, and we had a great break. And Dana, it was nice because he kind of came into it really not knowing anything about sports cards. He barely even knew that Panini signed the deal with the UFC. He barely even knew anything about it. So basically, we got on the live stream, and he was kind of a deer in headlights. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what the sports card world was all about. We started opening packs of Prism UFC, and he was like, this is kind of cool. This is pretty cool. He's like, wait a second, is that a Conor McGregor? Oh my God, this is my entire weekend's fight card. So he started to get really interested in it. He started to really develop an interest and get engaged, which tells me that, that's what sports cards do. They're engaging, they're exciting, and we need to do a better job as a hobby. And I know there's a lot of us, including Ryan, who are doing an amazing job of bringing excitement and bringing awareness to our industry. Because I think, even though it is a hobby, it's got to be more than that. It has to be a true industry. So the Dana White thing was fascinating, and obviously we use that to continue to propel our position in the UFC space, and we've built a really great UFC following. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words because we were excited about that one for sure.
Yeah, that was awesome. So if you guys can see as we're talking here, there's a lot of people moving in the background. So Chris and the team have been setting up for the show all day. So I think we want to take you guys in here
100%.
And show. This is going to be one of the two rooms. Again, like Chris mentioned, this is a massive space. There's entertainment, nightlife, and the show all in one. So let's go in here, talk a little bit about the show, and show you guys what this looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here, we're in the show space. Right when you walk in the front door, this is the first thing most people will see. Yep. So how many total vendors did you say you have? 100?
100 vendors, yeah. So right now what you're seeing is what we call Studio B, right? So this is an ancillary space to Big Night Live, the concert venue. So a lot of private events in here, a lot of pre-game activities for the Celtics and the Bruins games. But all in all, the entire property is about 2,200 people as far as capacity. So a huge space. And as you kind of walk into the space, Studio B becomes the initial vendor space, and then you make your way into Big Night Live, into the concert section, which is the secondary or second room, where we have about half of our vendors as well.
So that's where we started the tour. But taking a step back, we've been talking for a minute about breaking, Dana White, Chase Winovich, all this stuff, right? You got that going. Mm-hmm. Why a show?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier. It's, how do we blur the line between, mainstream and sports cards? And how do we make this less of a hobby and more of an industry, right? And I think we're all doing our part to do that, you included. And I think it's important that we do things differently, right? We have to continue to change. We have to continue to innovate. That's how every other industry on the planet has grown, right? And I think we were in a very unique position being, the Big Night behemoth that Big Night is. And being leaders in the nightlife and entertainment space, we put on shows for a living. That's what we do as a company. That's what Big Night specializes in. So it was like almost obvious and slapped us in the face. We need to have our own card show. We just had Alesso playing Big Night Live. We just had 50 Cent playing at the Grand. We just had, all of these huge celebrities and these huge parties that we put on. Why can't we put together a card show? Well, we do now, and we feel like we do a pretty good job at it. So that was kind of the genesis of us getting to the position of where we're at now with Causeway Card Show. It's now growing every time we run it. More and more people are coming into town. We've got a 2-day show now, so it's a reason to come to Boston, especially in July. So I think that's really how we got to where we are today, just kind of by nature of being who we are and doing what we do. And then us kind of taking this leap into the sports card space as a business, the two kind of just married hand in hand.
And one thing I've noticed about this shop, or the show, Brian and I got in last night. I've been in the National for 10, 11 years now, and there's certain venues you go to, not a lot to do. Certain venues like Chicago, there's always a lot to do. One thing about Boston, where we're at, there's a million things to do, right? So it's like you're not going out in the middle of nowhere. You're going to TD Garden at Boston, where there's 50 things within 500 yards of the front door of this show, right? You're not going to come here and just only be here for the show. You can make a whole trip out of it, right? And I think that's one thing you guys are doing very well with this. Like we talked about it with the DJ, right? There's going to be a DJ during the show. There's entertainment there's just so much going on. Yeah. It's not your typical card shop or your card show in the middle of nowhere where there's 25 tables. This is a real deal, but it's done a little bit different than most might expect.
Well, that's the thought process, right? We already every weekend have shows lined up at all of our venues. We already have entertainment lined up every weekend at all of our venues. So if we're going to have a card show, well, we might as well also have other things for people to do that are Big Night related, right? If you want to go to, Memoir at the Encore Casino, or if you want to go to Grand for 50 Cent's birthday tomorrow night, or if you want to go to any of our restaurants in the city, you can do that. But we're also in the heart of Boston in the middle of July. The Red Sox are in town. If you want to go catch a concert, if you want to go down to the seaport, or if you want to go to the waterfront, those are all options, and it's the best time of year and the best city at this time of year, in my opinion, in the country. So it's a no-brainer as far as if you're into sports cards or interested in sports cards. A weekend away in a great city in a great month with great weather makes sense to me. However, in the winter, you might come here, do a show here, come to one of our shows, and the Celtics might be playing next door, or the Bruins might be playing next door. So we're definitely in a unique spot. We have a unique location. We think it's fantastic as far as a draw for people to come. And like you said, Ryan, we try to do things a little bit differently. That doesn't mean that the Dallas show isn't fantastic, because the Dallas show is the Dallas show. It doesn't mean that Chicago, the National, isn't the National, because that's the National. But like I said, there's a need. We feel like there's an appetite for something a little bit different. So we feel like we're trying to deliver on that for sure.
And I think that's, every time I talk to the card shop owners, I talk to, Mike, Matt, all, so many different people. And one of the things they've all said is, right, like, no card shops are going to be the same, no collector's going to be the same, but you can take different things from each of those 100%. And incorporate it into something you're already doing, right? Like, hey, Dallas does this really well. Let's incorporate that at our show. But Dallas doesn't have a DJ, so we can add that, right? So it's about, there are so many great shows. Yep. And we can use things from those to make this show even better.
That's what's so amazing about this industry. That's what's so amazing about sports cards, right? Is we're all learning from each other. We're all helping each other. It's what's so unique about this industry, and it's something that I really love about it is there's no competition. There's no animosity. Like, the Dallas show doesn't hate the National doesn't hate the Dallas show. Dallas doesn't hate Causeway Card Show. We've got other shows, flyers out here that we're promoting. Card Collector 2 helps Costa Cards and the Card Vault as much as the Card Vault hopefully helps Card Collector 2. I learned, Ryan's live sales are the best. I know Jamil over at Mealy Pops. He's got a great live sale on Instagram. We took some of that. You took some of ours. We took some of yours.
That's where I got my idea from, was
exactly,
Jamil.
Right? And Jamil is probably ecstatic that you're doing well with it, right? And I learned from Mike at MC Sports Cards, right? How to really optimize an online business. And I learned from, Matt, who you guys had on, Matt Sports Cards, Matt Fang, how to really do well buying, selling, and trading autographs, and why autographs can be, you can create some arbitrage in the market. So we're all learning from each other. We're all helping each other, and a lot of people say that, we really do, which is incredible. So that's what's really impressive about this industry, and something that I think is one of the things I really, really love about it.
Yeah, that was one of the key points I took away from the conversation I had with Matt. Right, we just filmed it not too long ago, and he said, we talked about your success has nothing to do with my success. It doesn't take away anything from my success, right? Like,
it may help it.
Right? Like, I'm trying to help you get big. I'm trying to help everybody here get big and have everybody have something that they can be proud of and they can enjoy, because it has nothing, my success has nothing to do with how big this show becomes, right? I'm trying to help you make it awesome. And
look at what we're doing. You're at my show interviewing me. I'm getting free exposure with Card Collector 2 for the Causeway Card Show. It doesn't get any better than that. But at the same time, we're building content, we're educating people, and Ryan's helping me, you're helping me, I'm helping you. It's the way this whole thing works, and it doesn't work without that type of relationships. Yeah, so
relationships.
It's really special.
That's been the key, really, in every single one. Matt, Mike, everyone I've talked to, that's been the point, right? Is relationships, being willing to be open to new ideas, pivoting, just. If you can build those relationships and you can be a true, genuine person like that, you can do really, really well if you can capitalize on that.
It's all about who you surround yourself with.
Agreed.
But also being open to surrounding yourself with people you may not have been open to surrounding yourself with, right? Or being open to making new relationships, being open to meeting new people. If you go to a show in a different city, go to dinner with someone new, right? Don't just go out with your clique. Go out with someone new, meet someone new, learn about a different market, right? You guys are in Ohio. It's a very different market than Boston, right? So there's so much we can learn from each other, and there's so much value in being able to grow your network and surrounding yourself with good people. But you're not going to surround yourself with good people unless you give people a chance and you find out for yourself.
So as we get ready to move on to the final thing here, I heard you say it earlier, the Card Vault, right?
That's right.
So let's get a little
the
taste
cat's
of that.
out of the bag.
What is that?
Yeah, so we talked about launching big night breaks and having success and us gaining traction, and me being a dealer, buying and selling and trading, and the two are starting to come together, where we're building this multifaceted business, and that is now officially the Card Vault at Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play. So we're super excited. We're taking the next big step into the worlds of the Card Collector 2s, and it'll be big night breaks under one roof with the Card Vault, where we'll have singles, high-end graded singles, mid-level, low-end wax, retail wax, hobby wax. It'll be a place for us to really centralize everything, which is what I really have been dying for, is not having everything so spread out, having a place to congregate, bring my business under one roof, and really be able to expand our presence, right, as a brand, and put everything under one brand. So we're excited about it. We just announced it at the National, and you know, it's something that I've been biting my tongue on for a while. I haven't been able to tell anybody, but it's finally official. We finally just announced it, so we're super pumped.
Very cool. All right, so that is all we've got, but before we go, one thing I always ask anyone we interview is, if you were starting over today, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself today?
God, there's a lot of advice I would give myself today, but I think in general is be open, and I hit on this earlier, be open to building more relationships and don't close yourself off. One of the things I found early on was I created a circle, and I then realized it was super tight-knit and it was pretty closed off, and I wasn't letting anybody else in. And I ended up in a position where I felt like I needed to really, you know, stretch my wings and get out there and bring some more people into my circle, and it ended up netting some of the best relationships I've had in this hobby that have taught me so much, right? Mike at MC Sports Cards, Matt at Matt Sports Cards, Matt Fang, you know, Trent, and Moody, and you, and you know, Quick Consignments. You know, it's been a blessing to be able to build relationships with new people. So yeah, that would be the one thing I would have done differently. That luckily I have kind of changed is be open to meeting new people.
Great advice. Something we've heard a lot is the relationship aspect. That seems, like I said, that seems to be a common theme, and something I would completely agree with. So, where can people find you?
Yeah, so at Costa Cards on Instagram, at Big Night Breaks on Instagram, and then the Card Vault socials are going to be announced in the next week or two. So keep an eye out for that. Cool.
So if this video comes out after those are announced, we'll make sure we drop them down below. I'm sure they'll probably be right down here. So. That is all we got, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate Chris for having us. But that's it.
Thanks, buddy.
Peace, guys.